the water got so swift after the levee broke that it just undermined the piers. And that's when I think the bridge just tumbled and went out. Our clamshell was setting on the span that went out.
I was probably one of the last people in Sutter County to wake up because our place was still no water in it. And we got our Christmas presents, put them in the car, about a single change of clothes, I think, because we were going down to San Francisco for the holidays. And we headed out the end of Everglade, which is 113. Here was the water. You saw this stuff going in front of us. So we had a 50 Packard car, big old tank, and he started pulling in there, and the car started going down. And we both, at the same time, felt this. I think this isn't right. He said, no. And he stopped it, and he backed it out and turned around. He said, we can go get on the barn roof, and we can be rescued from there. On the barn roof, and I could see the water coming. It was going down toward the bypass levee and kind of making a swing, following the levee along. And about that time, this gentleman, Frank Getz, who had about 100 head of cows to the north of us, he and his son-in-law came driving in. And they were going to try and save their cows. And they said, Bill, can we use your horse? I said, sure. So I saddled my horse up and bridled him. And Mr. Segrist, his son-in-law, was going to ride him. He says, we're going to take him to the bypass. I said, you can't make it. He said, well, we think we can. I said, take him to the river. Now, that doesn't sound like the thing to do, go to the river when the levee just broke, but that actually was the thing to do. It turned out the river was probably 4 to 5 feet higher than a mile away from the river. And they run right into the water. They didn't even get halfway to the bypass. And they lost all their cows but the one that was on our roof. And my horse drowned. I talked to Segrist after the flood. He said he got the saddle off of him and the bridle. And he barely escaped. Get out by going down Garden Highway to Sacramento Avenue and then hitting the bypass. We couldn't escape to the south because the Nicholas Bridge had washed out. And Nicholas was flooded anyway. Where are you going to go if it had been there? We got up on the levee and went to San Francisco out for our holidays. And we were telling the family about it. The next day, some of the family wanted to come back. And they were all betting each other how deep the water was, 3 feet, 4 feet. And when we came back, my uncle had a telescope. And we put it on the house, and only the peak of the roof was out. So we knew it was probably 10 feet. A giant lake. In fact, there were 2 houses on Everglade Road that belonged to a friend of mine's father. And when the water came up and got deep, and we got some wind, and it started the wave action, they never found anything from either one of the houses. They just completely disintegrated out there in the open. When we went into our house in the boat, they were snaking out the dead animals at that time. We also had a Palomino horse right outside our kitchen window, dead in the water there. And Roy Rogers owned 110 acres that was on the other side of us. And we heard that he had some of his prized Palominos there. But I know there was one there in our kitchen window. There were animals, there were sheep, pigs, just anything you could name was there. We had chickens on our barn roof. They managed to survive by getting up on the barn roof. And we didn't have any ground squirrels after that. It drowned one. We had some neighbors. We hadn't even met them yet. They just moved in on Wilson Road. They went up 113 to George Washington, where it comes into 113 there. And the slough, Gil-Sizer Slough, crosses George Washington about a half a mile or more from 113. And they made the right turn there. It was the wrong turn. And they were some of the last bodies to be found. They took their cars, 75 to 100 yards out in the field. If they'd have made a left turn, they would have all survived.